So we're at our second week of Love Feast invitation, and after we've done the preparation in Love Feast, the next part of the service is the feet washing. And this part is probably one of the strangest things that the Church of the Brethren does on a regular basis, but I've often found it very meaningful when I've been able to participate in it. The Church of the Brethren has treated this act as an ordinance. And what I mean by ordinance is that Jesus, in the Gospel of John, after he washes his disciples' feet, says, "You should do this too." I'm going to read from there. This is chapter 13, starting at verse 12. "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set an example that you also should do as I have done to you." Now, the context of this scripture and why washing feet was actually something that was being done during this time. Of course, people, when they traveled, they were doing it by foot. And that meant when they arrived somewhere, their feet were probably really dirty. So when Jesus does this, he's modeling after what the servants would have done in the household. The host of the person that has arrived would have had their servant wash the person's feet when they arrived at the house. So then Jesus does this to his disciples in an act of servitude. And what's really significant about this is the same person that they've been calling Lord, that they have been giving these titles of honor that models servanthood. So we like to think that this obviously gives us some pretty radical thoughts on how we should be not only relating to Christ, but how we should be relating to one another. And Christ, when he washed his disciples' feet, not only did he wash those that had been following him for a long time, he washed the feet of the disciple that would eventually betray him. So, to me, this kind of says, not only are we worthy to have our feet washed, but all are worthy to have their feet washed and to be served. And this is kind of a scary thing to think about when we've had difficulties with people, that all are worthy to have their feet washed.
So Audrey did a nice job of summarizing that scripture, that order by Christ that we obey even today. And I wonder sometimes what this symbol continues to mean for us in the Church of the Brethren today. I mean, we live in a culture and a society that's always telling us to be independent and self-sufficient, and yet here we sit, allowing our brother or sister, our neighbor, to wash our feet. Puts us in a very vulnerable position. It puts us in a position that's going to make us feel uncomfortable. This isn't something you do every day. And I think a lot of that meaning certainly still stands. It, of course, remains a symbol of servanthood. In the Church of the Brethren, we live service, and in this ritual, we embody a symbol of service. I think a church that is willing to kneel down and to wash one another's feet, that's a church that creates bonds on such a deeper level. A church that washes feet together ought to stay together. I want to close off with the ending to that scripture from John 13. This is really a new commandment that Christ is giving us in this ritual. He says, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should also love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." So I invite you to come to Love Feast, to come to the table, to kneel down before a brother or sister, and let's show the world our discipleship by loving one another. We'll see you in a few weeks.